Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream. So we are returning after what happened in the first one. Hopefully this continues well for the next hour or so. If you've got any questions, comments, let me know as always. And I'll be looking at my team with free transfers available. I'm still looking to buy Salah, and at this point, I don't really care. I'll probably just buy him in and try to jinx him and probably captain him as well. Otherwise, the dilemma would be between Haaland and Solanke for the captaincy, and I've still got a few other moves to make, especially my defensive line, which is absolutely terrible. Easy99 says, I have Sells, Gvardiol, Son, Solanke, Strand Larsen in FPL Challenge. I think Tottenham and Wolves likely to get more shots on target. Yeah, I've only got Nuri and Son, but yeah, I think that's a good kind of reasoning for it. I think they will get plenty of goals in those games, especially Tottenham. I can't see them scoring fewer than 3 goals in that game against Ipswich Town, who arguably have the worst defence in the Premier League. I do think Southampton could cause an upset though. Nuri will still have some opportunities, I think, and Cunha and Strand Larsen are good options either way. 500k FPL managers already sold Haaland this game week. Will backfire or not, depending if KDB is back in the team. But I think the issue, or the reason why people are selling Erling Haaland, is because you can spread the funds around and make a more balanced team. You can have Salah, Saka, Palmer, and not rely so much on one man to save your week, especially if you captain him, like I've been doing throughout most of this season. Captain 1 from Solanke, Son, Salah. It'd be Son for me. Welcome, Ayub. Good to see you. Welcome back, says Andrew James. Thanks for answering all my questions in the first one. No worries. And once again, apologies for the issues we had. I'm not even sure now if it was the internet or the laptop or anything like that. I restarted both of them just in case. I'm not even going to mention them because I don't want to jinx. Yeah, like I said, I did end the first one, but the plan was to make another one and basically continue, because I do think it was like a stream-specific issue. In every single stream I've done for the last year or so, there have been no drop frames, no issues at all. So what happened in the last one is very strange. So I'll try to find the reason why. Would you start Raya or Fabianski? Fabianski. Start Robinson or Mikalenko, says James. Robinson. I think Crystal Palace missing so many key players really can play in Fulham's hands. I have Salah, Saka and Haaland. Yeah, I am captaining Cunha. I'm not against it, mate. I think it's a great fixture on paper. And even if Southampton get a win or a draw, I think Wolves will still score 1 or 2 goals, and Cunha will be heavily involved if that were the case. He can get assists, goals and bonus points on a consistent basis, so I'm not really against it. I personally think from those players you mentioned, Salah will be my favourite. I do think Cunha's better than Saka this week. Then it's a kind of tough call between him and Haaland, but generally speaking, you would favour Erling Haaland. Solanke or Cunha? Solanke this week. Hi, should I sell Haaland for Isak, Solanke and Foden? Any other midfielder? I mean, with Haaland, the only reason I suggest selling him is if you're going to buy Salah or players of that ilk and make those improvements in other areas. I wouldn't just sell Haaland for the sake of it. I still think he's better than Isak and Solanke overall. Although this week you could certainly make a case that Solanke's the best forward in the game. I think just thinking about the structure long term, I'd rather sell Haaland. You can always offload Foden to Saka in Gameweek 12, for example. And that's something I'm looking to do myself. Thorson McNeil, do you think he'll be fit? I said last time out that I don't think he'll be fit because he didn't train until the Friday, Saturday, but he still played. I think he will, but I wouldn't count on it. And ultimately, he is a sell very soon, whether it's now, Gameweek 12 or 14. It's completely up to you, but I certainly would offload Everton assets by the time their fixtures turn for the worse in Gameweek 15. I have 2 free transfers. Do I do Lewis Robinson out for Aina and play Aina instead of Nuri? I'd rather sell Lewis. I think Robinson has good long-term fixtures, a bit of assist threat, and he's nailed on, unlike Rico Lewis. So if I had to pick the defender to sell, it would be Rico Lewis. However, I'm a bit unsure about buying Aina at this point. I certainly wouldn't start Aina of Nuri. I wouldn't do it this week, though. Buy Solanke from -4? Probably not. And it also depends which striker you're looking to sell. But I don't think it's worth it just for 1 week unless you're planning to captain Solanke or you're that confident he's going to score a brace or a hat-trick, which isn't a guarantee despite the fixture, but I do think he has a great chance. Ederson or Fabianski to start? Fabianski. Start Gabriel or Aina? I'd personally go for Gabriel this week, but it is a close one. I'm a bit unsure about it, I will admit, just like I was last week when I was asked. Start 2 from Hall, Robinson, Gabriel. I'd definitely start Robinson. Then it's a close battle, but I'd probably go for Gabriel. Would you start Trent or Lewis? Definitely Trent. Raul for DCL. Jimenez remains a good option, but I think Strand Larsen, Cunha, Welbeck are the 3 best budget forwards to buy right now. And of course, Chris Wood is so consistent, but I probably wouldn't buy Raul Jimenez at this moment in time. Captain Solanke over Salah. I'm not against it, but I would probably say Salah again. At this moment in time, is Konate a better option than Trent? Up until this point of the season, he has been, but I do think Trent will outscore him. It's just a question of what do you do with the extra millions, a bit like the Haaland debate up front, and do you sell him and spread the funds elsewhere, although that's a more extreme case of that scenario. I'm looking at buying Konate or a Liverpool defender fairly soon, and I think Konate is probably the best option to buy, even over Van Dijk. So yeah, I think the answer is pretty much that is the case right now, but it will change. Captain Mbeumo or Salah? It's close. I think Mbeumo is a great choice this week, but I would go for Salah again. I think the only one I'd rank above Salah is Heung-min Son. Is Haaland the best captain after missing a penalty versus Sporting? Well, it's not even just that, right? He's missed 8 big chances in his last 3 games, the most of any player in Europe's top 5 leagues. But the fact he's getting those big chances is very encouraging, and you could see a massive haul on the horizon. If it's not this week, potentially after the international break against Tottenham Hotspur. But then it's Liverpool away, and when you factor in a few areas like Salah having Southampton away in Game Week 12 and also being a midfielder, getting more points than Haaland on a consistent basis, I do think it's worth offloading him anyway. But yeah, Haaland is a good captaincy option. I don't think he's the best this week though. Good evening, Dylan. Garnacho, keep or sell? Definitely a keep. I'm just a bit concerned if he starts or not. Foden, good player for Game Week 11 for me. Good record against Brighton. Scored a brace against them at the Amex very recently. But he is a sell fairly soon. So yeah, probably worth putting the message I normally put in these streams. So let's just put this here and make sure we are all on board. So if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. I do appreciate that. I had to start another stream, so of course it does cause a bit of disruption, but I do appreciate those that have tuned in already. Be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. We are making big progress towards 30,000, and you can also follow me across all social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, the Discord server, FPL League. Also check out Drafthound. There is a link in the description below. I think it's probably worth going back to the screens that I showed you earlier because it probably was too laggy or whatever the crap we can say about that. So let's go to the FDR. So until Game Week 16, Wolves are top. Bournemouth, Arsenal, Ipswich Town and Spurs are in the top 5. And some surprising names at the bottom. Nottingham Forest are in 20th, with Fulham, Everton, Liverpool and Southampton also down there. Chelsea and Man City also in mid-table, close to the bottom 5. With predicted points, Salah is top with 8. Haaland, Son, Saka and Palmer are all in the top 5. Then we've got Chris Wood, Solanke, Cunha, Johnson and Isak completing the top 10. Price changes are going to be quite heavy this weekend, I'd imagine. Dalot, Solanke, Salah, Semenyo could all rise in price tonight, but it all depends on the remaining transfer activity. Haaland, Palmer, McNeil, Nedeljkovic, Sancho, Calafiori, Akanji. There's a lot of names in here. Amadou Onana, Turner, Pau Torres, Colwill, Soucek, Konsa, Gabriel, Foden, Mitoma, Buonanotte and Dibbling could all go down. A few polls I put out earlier include the fact I might sell one of these midfielders to Salah, and Foden has almost half of the votes. In second is Rodgers, and Palmer and Semenyo are tied for third with 16%. The best Game Week 11 captain, almost half of you have gone for Salah, 45%, with Haaland in second, Solanke in third, and the other option with almost 10% of the vote as well. Drafthound are now recommending some transfers I've been discussing for the last couple of weeks, so Foden and Haaland out for Salah and Cunha. They also recommend Palmer and Foden out for Salah and a United attacker like Garnacho, Gabriel and Palmer to Aina and Salah. They've got a lot of different suggestions ultimately, but I do think their top one is looking really good on paper. So my current plan is to actually offload Haaland and Rodgers and then sell Foden to Saka in Game Week 12. Let's now look at a stats comparison. Earlier I showed you Erling Haaland between Game Weeks 1 to 5 and the recent 5 matches, but now I'm just going to compare him to Salah, and as you can see, it does seem quite balanced in some areas. Creativity, Salah obviously leads quite comfortably, but in terms of big chances, Salah is actually clawing the gap now. 11 big chances compared to Haaland's 16. The XG, of course, is still heavily in the Norwegians' favour, but shots in the box, shots on target, of course, Haaland will lead all of them, but he is 15.3 million, soon to be 15.2, potentially even tonight after the price changes. And just to show you what I could do by buying Salah and selling Haaland, I could buy Strand Larsen or Cunha. That also could influence future moves. So by buying Strand Larsen, I'd have more money in the bank to then buy Saka and also Kanate and maybe a United defender to really revamp my defensive line. So ultimately, the transfers would be 8 Nuri for Jacob Greaves, Salah for Rodgers, and Strand Larsen for Erling Haaland. Then in Game Week 12, I could buy Saka for Foden and be in a very strong position. And I could also buy Kanate and all these other options as well, as mentioned earlier. So the alternative, I think this will show you some differences. So yeah, in Game Week 12, buying Mazraoui and Kanate, potentially for a hit if I want to bench 8 Nuri and Mikalenko, although that might not be necessary, and then buy Saka for Foden around Game Week 13. So as you can see, there's a few things I could do, but I do think Cunha's worth the extra million over Strand Larsen, but only if the funds aren't going to be an issue for you. And of course, if you're planning to make other upgrades, then it might make sense to go for the cheaper option. I do like Danny Welbeck a lot from Game Week 12 onwards, and one of my 50-50 calls earlier this season was buying Joao Pedro instead of Welbeck, and that obviously went very, very poorly. So that's all been covered. Lastly, I'm going to show you FPL Challenge. Okay, now I have to log in apparently, so I'm going to have to go back onto that fairly soon. Let's actually show you a different screen whilst I put in my details. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Don't worry, we're not ending the stream because thankfully there is no lag as things stand. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below. I'm going to have to put a verification here as well, so just bear with me for a second. We do have 1 hour left until the deadline, so be sure to lock in your teams fairly soon. I don't want to leave things to chance, so I will be probably finalizing some transfers now. There's definitely one I'm quite set on, which is buying 8 Nuri for Jacob Greaves. There are other defenders to also consider, especially from Man United, but I'm fairly settled on that move, so I'll probably make that transfer now and then decide if I want to roll the other transfers and have 3 available in Game Week 12, or do I also maybe want to go all out, buy Salah, captain him this week, and see if I can jinx him once again. But in terms of my 5-a-side for challenge, I've got Onana, 8 Nuri, Salah, Son, and Haaland. Son is my captain here, and the challenge this week is called Accuracy, so shots on target are worth 3 points. So definitely very interesting. They've got some decent challenges recently. I think they were running out of ideas in the first few game weeks, but this is a decent challenge in my opinion. And we could see some of these implemented into the point scoring system next season, but we'll talk more about that when the time comes. The same goes for the mystery chip, which I'm always asked about, and I'll do predictions at the very end, especially if we hit our super chat goal of 5. We've got a lot of questions coming in, so let's whiz through these. Buy Højlund or Wissa instead of DCL. I prefer Wissa. The only issue I have with that is that Brentford's fixtures turn for the worse in Game Week 14, although United also have a tough run around the similar time. So yeah, for those that maybe haven't seen the pin message, keep things respectful and also keep your questions and comments flowing, but any spamming will not be tolerated and repeat questions may be skipped. So that's always been the case with my streams. So just bear that in mind when you are spamming. Captain Solanke, he's up there for me. Probably in the top 5, although Heung-min Son is a slight preference. I think he's got the highest ceiling. There is no guarantee Robertson starts, but I'd probably chance it with him. I just don't see Brentford keeping a clean sheet. Watkins or Isak? This week, it'd be Isak. And long term, you could also argue the same thing, but it is closer if we're looking at a more long-term view. But certainly this week, it's Isak. Semenyo and Hall for a -4, selling 4-point family in mid, and Pau Torres, Rodgers on the bench then. Looks good to me. Yeah, overall, I'd do it. I know Aston Villa have good fixtures from Game Week 12 onwards, but I don't trust them defensively, so I think that looks fairly decent, actually. What are your top 3 captaincy choices in order? Son, Salah. Cunha would definitely enter my thinking, but it's probably Solanke, I think, in 3rd. So those would be my top 3. I'd put Cunha in 4th. I'll try to give you a 5th one. I know you only asked for 3, but I'll give that a think. Of course, Haaland would definitely be in that thinking as well, but you did ask for 3 besides him. Are you selling Foden or 1 week hold? I think it's very likely I'll keep Foden. I'm not going to sell both City attackers this week. I'd ideally keep one, but by Game Week 13, I could end up with 0 Man City assets, to be quite honest with you, selling all 3 of them. But yeah, I think Foden is a hold for now. Start Lewis or Gabriel, says Bojan. I'd start Gabriel. I'm not even sure Rico Lewis starts. Now, we could get a leak fairly soon, and if Lewis is in the lineup, I might just be tempted to start him, but maybe not over Gabriel, to be quite honest with you. Okay, so since I've gone through some of these other screens now, I'm going to close them, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be locking in one transfer. My defensive line looks quite poor this week, and I do think a transfer is imminent. So, Jacob Greaves-Thwaite-Nuri, despite the fact he's on 4 yellows, 1 more before Game Week 19 means he's suspended for 1 match. I think I'm going to go for this transfer. The alternative would be Mazraoui, because I don't have enough money to go to Dalot, although by selling Haaland, that wouldn't be too much of an issue, of course. But I'm also thinking about future moves like Saka in for Foden. So I'm going to lock this in quite early to ensure that I've at least got this in place. I'm not that confident of Wolves winning this game, actually, or keeping a clean sheet, but I do like Aït-Nouri's attacking potential. I'm going to actually start him here over Rico Lewis as things stands. And the bench looks quite decent on paper, actually. So you could make a case for just keeping what I have and then having free transfers during the international break. But I also had something similar in Game Week 4. I started making transfers for the first time, and my rank went down quite drastically from 200k roughly to basically where I am at this moment in time, which isn't good enough, but sometimes doing nothing is the best course of action. That's something I've learned in FPL over the years. So I will have the transfer section ready, because there is a chance I'm going to make further transfers, offload Erling Haaland and buy Salah. So that's something I've discussed for several weeks now, and I think it's about time I pull the trigger. But I'm just very wary about Haaland against Brighton and Spurs, and that's the reason why I ended up keeping him until this point, basically. Start 3. I would start Aït-Nouri, Robinson, and Borro. I'd bench the rest. Lewis to Aït-Nouri. Yeah, I think that's a decent transfer. Just bear in mind, if you do buy Aït-Nouri, he is a suspension risk. It's risky. Whenever you sell Haaland, the same goes for players like Salah. It can go one of 2 ways, and most likely you'll end up regretting it. But if you end up selling Haaland, try not to buy him back instantly. You know, if he scores a hat-trick against Brighton, don't just, say, oh, I need him for Tottenham, and just, kind of reverse your transfers. That's the thing you want to avoid. So if you end up committing to this strategy, stick to it for as long as possible. Should I go bold for Son captain? I think they're both viable choices. I personally favour Son anyway. I've been bullish on him for several weeks now looking at this fixture. He's got the highest ceiling of any Spurs attacker. Hold Lewis or sell him to Dalot? I'd probably sell him to Dalot if you need to start this defender this week. Watkins to Cunha, DCL to Raul, Foden to Salah for a -4. I'm wildcarding in 12 thoughts. Yeah. All good transfers. I just consider Welbeck instead of Raul Jimenez for the long term. I think Brian's fixtures between Game Weeks 12 to 16 are incredible, so I would recommend that, but no complaints with the transfers in. Wood and Semenyo or Larson and Johnson? Yeah, so for this week, I think Larson and Johnson is better, but longer term, I can't help but think Wood and Semenyo will score more points. So it all depends on your strategy. If you're wildcarding in 12, stick with Larson and Johnson and really attack what's in front of you, but it all depends on that. Start McNeil or Rowe or sell one of them for Semenyo. Difficult one, but I'd probably sell McNeil. Start Welbeck or Rodgers? Welbeck. Start Fabianski or Raya? Fabianski. So that answers Thomas's question as well. Yeah, I agree. Based on current form, Gavardio's the only worthwhile City player, but I think he'll blank against Brighton, and either Foden or Haaland, potentially both, will produce something. As I mentioned in the previous stream, Haaland has never blanked against Brighton in his career, so free attack and returns in 3 matches, but I don't think he scored at the Amex so far. Only 1 appearance there, and he got an assist. And he, of course, missed out that 4-0 victory a couple of months ago. So yeah, we're getting some of the same questions. Hopefully you saw the my take on Fabianski Raya. Smith-Rowe out for Semenyo Rodgers. I'd probably go to Semenyo. But bear in mind, he is a suspension risk as well. So just to confirm. So Semenyo is currently on 4 yellow cards. One more before Game Week 19 means he misses one Premier League match, and it's very likely that will be the case. So I think he's the best long-term option, but it could be an issue buying him in right now. Would you say it's insane to think that Aston Villa plays well today and Salah blanks and go for Cunha captain? It's possible, right? Aston Villa have been poor in all competitions. They lost in the Carabao Cup to Crystal Palace, also to Club Brugge in the Champions League, and they got absolutely battered by Tottenham. I still think the way they play will suit Liverpool, and I just look at Emery's record against that club and also Aston Villa. I'm not too confident. Now, you could be right because Villa are a good team on their day, but at Anfield, I can't see anything other than a Liverpool win. Salah might not go ballistic, but I still think he walks away with something, an assist, a goal. He's that reliable, and that's why I'm looking to buy him. So you can go for Cunha captain. He might outscore Salah, don't get me wrong. I just personally would favour Salah's consistency and the double-digit hauls he produces on a regular basis. Wanderlost says, hi, hope you're well. Wood and Solanke for Havertz and Watkins. Yeah, it's kind of difficult because Watkins has good fixtures from Game Week 12 onwards. Solanke's got a poor fixture, of course, in Man City. But yeah, Chris Wood as well. Looks good for the next 3. Not so much in the long term. I do think Havertz is a sell, but with Odegaard back, I think he'll play more up front and he'll get more returns in the next few weeks, especially with Arsenal's fixtures turning for the better in Game Week 12. Difficult, but I'd probably do it. Semenyo or DCL in the first 11? Semenyo. But DCL has a good record against West Ham. He actually scored in 2 recent meetings at the West Ham Stadium. Keane or Rico Lewis in the 11? Difficult one. I think both of them could be benched. I've been saying this for some time now with Branthwaite, in the squad, always knocking on the door. I think this will finally be the time it happens, but who knows. I'd probably go for Rico Lewis here. If it was Mykolenko-Lewis, I'd probably lean towards Mykolenko because I'm more sure about him starting. It's a close call though, very close. Lewis and Maddison starts or no? Not entirely sure about either, to be quite honest with you. Would it be bold to captain Larson for Game Week 11? I think it's a decent choice. Not my favourite, but great fixture on paper. He's had a good start to the season. I just don't see him getting a double-digit haul. Maybe 8 to 9 points, which is still very solid. It's better than what I've done recently with the captaincy. Abba says, good afternoon, FPL legend. Thank you very much. Good to see every week. Who is the best defender as replacement? Rico Lewis for the free game weeks. Oh, for free game weeks, it'd probably be a United defender like Dalot or, well, since you've got 4.7 million budget, Mazraoui. The alternative is Aït-Nouri, of course, but there is Fulham away in 12, which isn't great. So my answer would be Mazraoui. Just bear in mind with Ruben Amorim coming in during the international break, we could see some changes in the starting 11. Luke Shaw is also very close to return, so it's a bit of a risky punt, but I'd go for Mazraoui. Foden to Saka or Bruno? Just hold Foden for now, but I would sell him to Saka in Game Week 12 or 13 v7. Yeah, I think Foden starts this weekend. Even if De Bruyne starts as well, I think that could be the case. So yeah, I'd keep Foden, as mentioned in the previous stream as well. Hi Dylan, should I captain Salah or Son? Both great choices. Salah's more consistent, but I would target the fixture and go for Son this week. Haaland to Cunha, Rodgers to Bruno, Son, Palmer and Greaves to Aït-Nouri, Dalot for free transfers or roll. I'm in a similar predicament as you. I would probably roll in this case. If it was Salah, of course you've got him already, I would maybe feel differently, but yeah, the only one that could really pay off this week by selling Haaland is Son, but then you'd also want to sell him to Palmer in Game Week 12, so it's a bit of a tricky situation. I'd probably roll. I have DCL, who can I get instead? Danny Welbeck from Game Week 12 onwards would be the best one. If you're buying one this week, I'd be tempted by Cunha or Strand Larsen. My favourite overall is probably Danny Welbeck, just to be quite clear. Is Isak a good option? Yep, he was a buy in the Transfers podcast earlier this week. Petros puts his team, 4 transfers, 0-point family in the bank. Your suggestions? Yeah, your defensive line could do with a bit of work, despite the fact you've got Trent and Gabriel already. I'd be tempted to sell Diaz, despite the hat-trick against Bayer Leverkusen the other day. So, looking at your squad, once again, it might have to come down to selling Haaland, which isn't ideal this week. Neither is it in Game Week 12. But that could definitely be a play. Yeah, I'd look to buy Salah, and in order to do that, I'd have to downgrade one of Trent or Haaland. And I think right now, I'd lean towards selling Haaland. I'm thinking Semenyo for McNeil, but on yellow like Nori or someone for Palmer or Roll, and look to get Buonanotte and Pedro next week. I'm not too keen on Joao Pedro. He seems a bit injury prone, and I think Welbeck is the better FPL asset right now. But yeah, Semenyo's a good choice. The only problem with that is he's on 4 yellows, as you mentioned, and if you've got 8 Nuri as well, and of course I'm in a similar situation now, that is a bit of an issue. Well, to be honest, Andrew, it's because, look, I did consider Fabianski actually for Raya, and that would also enable me to keep Haaland. So just to show you, I could do something like this. I could do Raya. I know that might seem a bit strange. And it also would mean another goalkeeper transfer later down the line for Valdimarsson, but I could do something like this. Haaland, of course, now I've bought 8 Nuri, so that does seem a bit awkward. I think now I'm not able to do it, but I was considering something like this. Cunha in, and then Salah for Rodgers, and then Bob's your uncle. But yeah, because I've already bought in 8 Nuri for Greaves, that is no longer on the cards for me. I see what you're saying. It's just, I would rather have 2 free transfers for Game Week 12 to buy Salah, and if not, just make the transfers now and buy the Egyptian and get it done with. So that's why I haven't really committed or talked about Fabianski too much, but it has crossed my mind, I will admit. And I do think it makes sense. On the wild card, the only reason I actually even have Valdimarsson is because I had Fleck in for most of the deadline stream back in Game Week 6. Then the Raya news came out, he was fit. I ended up buying Raya back late, and I just didn't have enough time to buy Fabianski for Valdimarsson. I didn't see it as too important, but of course Fabianski has become a decent 4 million goalkeeper now. So that was my mistake on the wild card. Not a big one, but still enough to potentially cause issues later down the line. But yeah, I think Fabianski could still come in at some point if I just want to make a transfer. I wouldn't guarantee it though. So at the moment, if I do make 2 more transfers, the most likely will be this. Salah and Cunha in for someone like Rodgers in the midfield and Erling Haaland making way. And Salah would be my new captain, Solanke as the vice. Start Semenyo or Bernardo Silva. Semenyo. No worries, Petros. Let me know what you end up doing. Keep or sell Trent Fate Nuri, says FPL Elmer. I'd keep Trent. Especially if you have no Haaland. I'd rather spread the funds out, and I think Trent will pay off that expensive price tag as well. I'll do a wildcard draft in a couple of days' time, so I'm going to go on holiday fairly soon. And what I'm going to do is try to record 2 free videos and spread them out. So there will be a wildcard podcast in the next week or so. Keep your eyes peeled. But right now, I'm focused on Game Week 11. We'll talk more about Game Week 12 once this deadline is gone. Maybe in the reaction stream, either today or tomorrow, we can maybe go for a wildcard draft. But I think the best time to see it would be in that wildcard video. Choose one for the 11. It would be Semenyo. Solanke or Bruno captain? Solanke. Start Semenyo or McNeil, says Peshang. Semenyo. Would you do McNeil to Fernandes for -4? I'd be tempted. You know, I probably would, actually, yeah. And I don't think Bruno Fernandes is suddenly amazing, but for this free gimmick punt, I think he'll give some good returns. Should I transfer in Hall or Mazraoui? They're both good choices, to be fair. Lewis Hall is definitely on radar. I'd probably go for Mazraoui, but there are some uncertainties regarding United assets fairly soon. Kiratix, you have asked this question quite a lot, mate, I'm not going to lie. So just to be quite clear, for this week, Larson and Johnson is better. But if you want something a bit longer term, then let me know, because I feel the other one will get more points on a consistent basis. That's been covered already. Salah or Mbeumo captain, both excellent choices. I'd go for Salah. Just going to Spain, really, just to visit family. Should I transfer in Hall or Mazraoui? That's been covered. Thoughts on captaining Mbeumo? Yeah, you're right. He's actually the highest scoring home player this season, and Brentford have the best record in home matches so far. So I'm not against it. Mbeumo is definitely worth considering. I think Bournemouth is a tougher game this season, but still, I think that's a great choice. I have Haaland and Salah. Should I sell Haaland to bring in Solanke? Not necessarily. You could still sell Haaland in the next couple of weeks and spread the funds around, buy Palmer and Saka and all these players, but I'd still keep Haaland in your case. Salah or Mbeumo captain? Salah. Saka to Salah or Captain Haaland and roll for the next week and reassess? I'd probably Captain Haaland and reassess because you're selling Saka, who is so consistent. Did Haaland dibbling to Salah, Cunha a couple of nights ago. One free transfer, roll or sell one of Watkins, Lewis. Ideal targets are Dalot, Hall, Welbeck, Larson, Raul, Wissa, 8 Nuri, that is, right? Yeah, that looks fairly good, to be fair. And I've been talking about Salah, Cunha for so long now, and I just haven't done it yet. And I'm quite surprised by how patient I've been with Haaland and a few other assets. But yeah, I do like your transfer plans. I think I'd rather sell Lewis than Watkins. I still back Aston Villa to turn things around with their fixture swing fairly soon. Thank you, Kiritex. Dylan, do you think Lewis and Keane can play? They can. Will they? I think at least one of them is benched, to be quite honest with you. I'm not confident in Rico Lewis at all. And that's why I'm looking to sell him potentially in the next couple, or at least bench him and then reassess. When will Van der Ven return? Definitely after the international break, but I'm going to try have the latest update because I haven't seen anything recently. So, yeah, we got something yesterday. And yeah, Postecoglou said it will be after the international break. Exactly when will be dictated by his progress during that time. We will have to see. So, yeah, Game Week 12 or 13. We don't know exactly when, but it will definitely be after the international break. What's your probability Haaland's going to score today? I mean, around 60%, I'd say. I'd be very surprised if he blanked against Brighton. Let me put it that way. Well, I appreciate it, Dario. I don't feel that way, but I think it's just the lack of Haaland. The lack of Haaland. The lack of Salah, who is someone I'd want to captain in most weeks, I think, going forwards. Although, you could make a case the other way. I do think Liverpool and City have some tough games coming up regardless, but I think over the next 6, you definitely prefer Salah over Haaland. And the fact they didn't go for him last week did cause some concerns for me. But that's what I ended up going with. So this is my current team. Not too keen on Mikalenko. I think my double up in the Arsenal defence might be really good long term, but not in Game Week 11 against Chelsea. I personally think the Blues will score. We'll wait and see how it all pans out, but maybe this team is not that bad. I don't think Lewis is going to play. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong about it. I checked a lot of predicted lineups from City fans and also different newspapers and stuff, and most of them don't have Rico Lewis in there. They've got Kyle Walker instead. How would you rank defender transfer targets this week? Probably 8 Nuri first, although he is a suspension risk. I'd also... Well, it depends what price tag we're talking about, right? I think a Liverpool defender is still on radar, especially for Game Week 12. So Konate would definitely be up there. I'd also say Dalot or Mazraoui in third. Then you're looking at Lewis Hall and other options, maybe a bit lower down. I do like one of Anderson or Robinson to cover Fulham defensively with the long-term fixtures. It all depends on your structure. So if Anderson's going to be your cheapest defender, I think that's fine. But if you've got the funds, Robinson is worth the extra millions right now with the assist threat. But I think all of those defenders I just mentioned would be right up there. Do I take Palmer out as I already have Salah and Haaland, or do I keep? Personally, I'd keep Palmer. Chelsea have a great fixture run from Game Week 12 onwards, and I know Arsenal is still tough on paper, but Palmer can score against them. In fact, in his last 2 appearances against the Gunners, he scored in the Community Shield final for Manchester City, and then, of course, the penalty for Chelsea in that 2-2 draw last season. Any good Gibbs White replacements? Got 9 million in the bank, bit of a long term. I still like Garnacho, just less keen on him now because there is a chance he's benched. You've also got Semenyo, but he is a suspension risk, and we're going to talk about a lot of suspension risks until Game Week 19. But yeah, there are several. Maybe not a particular standout right now, but if you want to take a punt, maybe Garnacho or Amad Diallo, whoever you think is going to be in that lineup for Man United. Start Welbeck or Semenyo? Semenyo. Who to captain, Palmer, Mbeumo or Haaland? Mbeumo would be very tempting actually. But probably Haaland. I wouldn't captain Palmer this week. Free hit tempts me. Yeah, there are some good home fixtures, but I do think a lot of people have a solid team anyway. And with a few double game weeks later this season, I think the free hit could be very powerful in either that double or blank that we'll get later in the campaign. That's the way I'm looking at it. I think the triple captaincy could certainly work very well in a single game week, as it did for me in Game Week 2. And of course, you've got the bench boost. But My preference is to save the free hit for a double or blank. We'll still get some, but not as many as previous campaigns. As mentioned before, Sydney, I would go for Fabianski this week. Start Semenyo or Jimenez. Semenyo, Rashford, Dallo in, Robertson, Gundogan out. Yeah, I like the Dallo transfer. I'm a bit unsure about Rashford. I think all United wingers are a bit of a rotation risk. We'll see what Ruben Van Nistelrooy goes with this weekend, but also Ruben Amorim once he takes charge. But that could be a great punt still over the next three. I'd go for it. I certainly think Rashford is an upgrade on Gundogan right now. Is Palmer a must-own from Gameweek 12? I don't think anybody is essential, but Palmer is very close to that bracket. Cunha or Larson? Cunha. If funds are no issue, I would go in that direction. The reason why I've entertained Larson quite a bit, especially in this stream, is because it would allow me to buy Saka for Foden in the future. And this is, of course, by selling Erling Haaland as well. And I could also buy a Liverpool defender like Konate and maybe Dallo or Mazraoui. So I do like the transfers I could get by buying Larson instead of Cunha. But it's all team dependent. McNeil to Johnson. Yeah, for this week looks really good. Just bear in mind that you might want to sell Johnson in the future, but I can see him hauling against Ipswich Town. Captain Mbumo, Solanke, Salah, Haaland. Yeah, Salah would be top for me, but they're all excellent choices, actually. They're all really good. Sell Haaland, Rodgers for Salah, Larson, and upgrade Maddison to Saka next week. I'm on board with that. Yeah, I think that looks really solid, Sahil. Sorry, that was Ezra. That's not Sahil. Similar logo. I think it's the colour. Who to bring in for DCL? Wood, Welbeck, or Cunha? My favourite long-term would be Danny Welbeck. I think he'll blank against City. He's never scored against them in the Premier League. Only one goal in his entire career against the Citizens. But I think he's the best one. Very consistent this season. Choose one for the first 11. Semenyo, mate. Semenyo over DCL and Mikolenko. Thoughts on Solanke or Haaland or Salah's captain? Salah will be top. Probably Haaland second and Solanke third. I definitely wouldn't, mind captaining a Spurs player this week, especially the attackers. Yeah, Amad Diallo could be decent. My issue is rotation. The same goes for Garnacho. I think those two are competing for a spot. Amad is the only natural right winger that United have. Of course, Anthony's the other one, but yeah, I think Amad Diallo is clearly a level above. Definitely one to look at, and if you're backing him to start, I'd take the punt and go for it, but it is very risky. Okay, so we've literally got over half an hour left. Let's lock in our teams fairly soon. Thank you for all the support, especially those tuning in now after the problems we had in the first stream. I still don't know what it was, but I will investigate it after the stream is done. Let me just deal with some strays. Let's put it that way. Some strays in the chat. Okay, there we go. So if you haven't already, smash the like button. Let's get this stream to over 200 likes. That'd be massively appreciated. And let's keep on pushing towards 35 subscribers. Check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. The Discord server, FPL League, and Drafthound can also be found there. And let's actually have a look at Drafthound and see what they're recommending one more time. So they actually suggest Foden and Haaland out for Salah and Cunha. They're really bullish on Salah now. And even Solanke has risen up in their estimations. I think over the last week they have made some changes to their algorithms. They've been improving the data and the predicted points. And I have to say, a lot of the times with their captaincy choices, benching headaches, and transfers, they've gotten a lot of them spot on in my case, and maybe I should listen to them more often. I've been talking about Salah and Cunha in for some time now, and I just haven't pulled the trigger, but I'm quite sick of Salah doing well and punishing me. But when I have him, he's been quite underwhelming. In fact, in UCL Fantasy, he got 1 assist for me, got 7 points when I played the Limitless chip, and in FPL, he got 1 assist, a 6 points against Bournemouth, and then blanked against Forest as my captain. So he hasn't scored a goal whilst in my team. So that actually tempts me to buy him, to at least jinx him, and if not, I'll get the points and just be happy. So Salah could very much well come in the next half an hour. That's going to be a late decision, I think, as I mentioned in my video as well yesterday. I think Lewis will be benched, yeah. It's not a guarantee, though. Thank you, Blake. Massively appreciated. Sells, Nuri, Gabriel, Vandenberg, Gavardio, Twanzebe, Salah, McNeil, Palmer, Rodgers, and Boomer, Haaland, Wood, Archer. Thoughts? Good team. Just your defensive line, it's not even bad, actually. But I would upgrade one of Vandenberg or Twanzebe in the near future. I think McNeil could easily become Semenyo. or maybe a United attacker like Amad Diallo or Garnacho, whoever you back to start. And they could start together, by the way, but I do think Rashford is a bit more likely. That's the way I view it. So yeah, I think McNeil and probably Tuanzebe are the ones to offload in the next few weeks. You could even make one of those transfers now. Sell Lewis, who is good at 4.5 million and above replacement. Yeah, Lewis Hall, Robinson, Joachim Andersen. My favourites, though, would be 8 Nuri or a United defender like Dallo/Mazraoui. Take a -4 for Jimenez to Cunha Larson. Not for a hit. Yeah, let me just get this up again. Okay, scan QR code. No, don't want to do that. The website that I just showed you is Drafthound. There is a link in the description as well. I'll try to put it in the live chat just to make it even easier. But yeah, I've been using it in a lot of my videos, and a lot of you have signed up and actually given really good feedback about the website. So check it out. And for some reason, I can't put the link. I'm just going to put the link here. Hopefully that works. Okay. Give me a second. It's just the character limit is a bit mad on YouTube. All right. So this should be the link. It took a bit longer than I expected. Foden after KDB is now coming back. Not that sure about that one. Well, Foden will be a sell anyway for me, but I do back him to start against Brighton. He's got a good record against them, and I do think Pep sometimes looks at these sorts of details as well. I mean, fair enough, Ian. It's just Haaland has 11 goals this season. He's still the Golden Boot. Well, he's leading the Golden Boot right now, and we all know this could easily turn the other way. He has been poor recently, but he's not a poor striker. I'm using the captaincy on Salah. Yeah, I think that's fairly reasonable. A Spurs attack or Salah would be at the top of the agenda. As mentioned before, any repeat questions may be skipped and spamming will not be tolerated, so just bear that in mind if you do spam the chat. It is all addressed in the pinned comment. I'm going to put a poll out now very quickly and see what you lot think, but I think I've kind of made up my mind already. So we've still got less than half an hour left until the deadline. Lock in your teams. Don't leave anything to chance. We might get some leaks in the next, 10, 15 minutes maybe. But beyond that, certainly lock in your teams and have everything done. So, just going to put this poll out. And then this will be Rodgers and Haaland to Salah and Cunha. Okay, so there we go. Let me know your thoughts. And that is pretty much where my head's at. I am leaning towards the second option right now, though. Haaland is horrible, yeah, but this will easily swing. I remember when he scored, I think, the hat-trick against West Ham, someone in a live chat asked me, is Haaland the greatest striker of all time? Like, I think people go from one extreme to the other. Haaland is neither the greatest striker, nor will he ever be, in my opinion, and neither is he terrible. I think he's a very good striker, probably one of the best in Europe right now. He's just going for a bit of a bad patch, which happens. He's still very young, let's not forget. Number one rank as Captain Salah for the most part. Yeah, but I think even second place or something like that, they had Haaland, for example. I think there are different ways of playing the game this season, but my issue with Haaland is he's too expensive for what he's offering right now, and you can spread the funds elsewhere. Play Timber or Rico Lewis. I'm not too keen on Timber, but I'd probably go for him because I'm unsure about Lewis starting. Very close call, by the way, in the poll, so keep on casting your vote and seeing how it goes, but it's pretty much 50-50, and I don't really blame you. Should I do Haaland and Buonanotte to Cunha and Salah? Yes, would be my inclination, actually. Solanke and Bruno for Smith Rowe and DCL for -4. No Saka, though. You don't need Saka this week anyway. You can always buy him in Gameweek 12 or 13, so as long as you've got that possibility and window open, I'd probably do it. My squad is lacking depth. I have Lewis, Dibbling and Greaves. With one free transfer, should I prioritise getting some bench cover or going into Gameweek 12 with 2 free transfers? If you're confident about every single player in your starting 11 being in the lineup, then I'd probably roll and have 2 free transfers, more information going into Game Week 12, and also a better position to be in to deal with any potential suspensions or injuries. So I think that's probably the best course of action, but that's only if you're confident in your starting 11. Really want to captain Fernandes instead of Haaland, but I know Haaland will score a hat-trick if I go against him. Yeah, Trenix, let me know though, who do you actually think will score more points? Is it Bruno or Haaland? And if it's Bruno Fernandes, just go for it. And at least you've got Erling Haaland, so you could still actually gain quite a bit by keeping him. His effective ownership is lower nowadays. Who to sell for Salah, ESR or Rodgers? I'd rather sell Smith Rowe, sorry. And who to buy for Haaland? I have Welbeck in mind. Yep, I like Welbeck a lot. For this game week, you'd arguably go for Strand Larsen or Cunha. I don't like Welbeck so much against City, but beyond that, excellent fixtures for Brighton, and Welbeck is arguably the best budget forward in the game. Play Keane or Lewis? Probably Lewis. I think both of them could be benched, actually. Solanke and Bruno for Smith Rowe and DCL. Yeah, covered. Who would you play between Milenkovic against Newcastle or Kilman? Probably Milenkovic. I'd back the Forest defence a little bit more, but they have a tougher fixture. I would play Fabianski there, Joao, especially in your case with Gabriel already in your starting 11. Dylan, should I start Saliba or Pinnock? Saliba. Son or Haaland captain? Son, just address or check out the pinned comment. Try not to spam, please. Hi, Dylan, currently 17k overall. Haaland or Salah captain? Still Salah for me, but they're both really excellent strikers. Excellent strikers. I just saw another comment, sorry. They're both excellent choices. Van Basten, best striker, and had to retire 28 years old. Yeah, Van Basten, a bit before my time, but one of the greats, of course. There are so many strikers of an elite level. R9 is probably the best that I've seen at least a little bit. Thierry Henry is right up there, but I just don't think Erling Haaland is on that level. Not yet anyway, but difficult to see him reaching R9 status. Hey Dylan, which goalkeeper is better to wildcard 2? Oh, I'm guessing... Oh yeah, Jose Sarr or Verbruggen? Probably Verbruggen. Johnston is back, and there's a slight chance he goes back into the lineup. And I don't trust Wolves defensively that much. 8 Nuri is really an attacking option for me. Keep Haaland for this week, mate. Yeah, I know. It's just the way I see it, and I think someone said something identical in the live chat. If I sell Haaland, I'm just convinced he's going to go off. But if I keep Haaland, I could see Salah just going ballistic. It's just they're both excellent choices, and they're both going to do really well this season. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma, and I keep on delaying this move again and again. And if I keep Haaland this week, I'll then think, oh, he's due against Tottenham. But even if he scores a brace or a hat-trick, I'm going to think, why would I want to sell him now? So I just think I'm overthinking it, ultimately. And in terms of my future transfers, the best course of action would be buying Acuna or Welbeck, as well as Salah, by offloading Erling Haaland. Play Robinson or Aina? Robinson. Hey Dylan, who would you pick as a differential? Would you pick Son over the bunch? I think Son's the best captaincy option this week, but I'm not so sure about buying him just to then sell him in Game Week 12-13. I'm a bit unsure about that sort of move. But yeah, my favourite is Son, definitely for the captaincy. All of those options are good though. Mbeumo would be second in my list there. And Cunha is still an excellent choice. I mean, they all are. But yeah, I think Son would be my favourite. I am Puss's team. Who do I captain? I'd go for Son. I really would. Start Garnacho or Rodgers. Keep the good work, Dylan, and good luck. Thank you. And likewise to you. I hope you do really well this week. Would you think 5 years ago that we'd be talking about Welbeck in FPL? No, actually. That's a great question. Welbeck's been excellent this season. He really has. Sells or Onana? Onana. If I'm buying one right now, it would be Onana. Better fixtures long term. Forest are bottom of the FDR until Game Week 18. Pick my captain. They're all great, but I'd go for Son. Bring Raul, Wood or Solanke in for Mateta. Chris Wood has been the best so far this season. Solanke is the best short-term fixture this week, but I think I'd buy Dominic Solanke, actually. I really would. I also recommend having a mid-priced forward in your structure and not going for free budget options. Solanke or Cunha, Dylan? This week, Solanke. Should I bench Palmer or Foden? Once again, refer to the pinned comment, mate, but I'll answer it very quickly. They're not players you want to bench. I think Foden will do better than Palmer this week. Don't bench Palmer, though. Gabriel versus Rodgers, who to bench? I'd bench Rodgers. Gabriel to Forest defender? No. Apart from Ipswich Town in Game Week 13, I don't see Forest keeping many clean sheets in the next 8 game weeks. I know they've been excellent. They might cause some surprises against Arsenal or City, but I think I'd just keep Gabriel. Yeah, good question, CF. The yellow card issue, it kind of resets in Game Week 19. So essentially, you need 5 yellow cards to be suspended. From Game Week 19 onwards, it then extends to 10 yellow cards. I don't think Lewis starts, no. Do you think Son will play 80, 90 minutes? I think he'll play 70-ish. That's my guess right now. Most of my friends sold Haaland, so should I captain him instead of Son? I understand that logic, and that's also kind of factoring into my thinking right now. You know, you kind of think, oh, maybe I should have sold him a few weeks ago, and now that I've kept him until this point, maybe it's just worth holding on to against Brighton and Spurs. I understand that completely. I'd go for Son personally as the captain. The fact you've got Haaland and they don't is already enough. Unless you're absolutely confident of Haaland going off, then fair enough, you can go for it. But I personally think Son's the better captaincy choice this week. Start Edison or Fabianski? I'd go for Fabianski over most goalkeepers this week. At least the kind of premiums or those from top teams like Arsenal, City and Liverpool. Watkins to Isak or roll? I'd probably roll because Watkins has great fixtures from Game Week 12 onwards. Isak's fitness is questionable. He's always a bit injury prone, unfortunately. Who would you bench between Saka, Garnacho and Wood? This week it would be Saka, but he's the type of player you never want to bench. The same goes for Palmer, that was asked about earlier. Adil says, hi Dylan, I'm wildcarding in 12. Who would you bring in for this week to get the most points versus Southampton? They're both excellent, but I'd go for Cunha. Sell Vardy or Joao Pedro for the longer term? Vardy. I think a Brighton attacker is the right call, but my preference is Danny Welbeck. Kulusevski's decent. I don't think he's great. A bit like Maddison, who has had a good start FPL-wise this season. Yeah, Kulusevski this week looks really enticing, but my favourites from Spurs would be Son, Solanke and Johnson in that order. Do I start Hall over either Mikolenko, Gabriel or Trent? I would... Yeah, I'd start Hall over Mikolenko. That's my current thinking. Very close, though. No worries to Stupaki. I mean, yeah, for some reason this hasn't gone back to my other screen. Apologies for that. So yeah, we had issues with the first stream anyway. I'm not sure if you were there for that, but I appreciate you coming in. Bringing in Dye or Ferguson. I'm selling Haaland for Salah and need cheap forward. I just don't think Ferguson starts. Welbeck's the first choice striker. He's the one I'd recommend. If you can go to Welbeck or Strand Larsen, go for them instead of Ndai or Ferguson. Hola Dylan, or Aloha, probably that's what you said. Vardy to Strand Larsen or Vardy plus Palmer to Solanke, Brennan Johnson for -4. Good question. I think I'd stick with the first transfer. I wouldn't sell Palmer for a -4 hit, as much as I like buying Solanke and Johnson, and that could pay off this week, but I always think a bit beyond the upcoming game week if possible. So yeah, John Paul, I'd probably stick with Vardy to Strand Larsen. If you feel differently though, back your gut because I may be wrong about it. The Spurs attackers certainly have a high ceiling this week. Thoughts on Haaland to Son? How would that work though? Which striker do you buy and which midfielder do you sell to buy Son? Delap or Welbeck? Welbeck. Definitely Welbeck long term. This week is a bit closer, but just buy Welbeck if you're looking at a budget striker. After the deadline, should I bring in any players that I may have on wildcard that may get a price rise soon? Yeah. I mean, if you're set on wildcarding in 12, I'd try to activate it as soon as possible and chase those price changes. I think you could definitely gain a bit of value that way. If you kept Haaland this game week, when would you plan on selling him? That's the problem. And I think ultimately the best course of action for my squad is to sell him. And that's why I may need to pull the trigger this week. If I don't sell him now, it's probably Game Week 13. But then I don't want to go about Salah against Southampton in Game Week 12. So yeah, essentially Haaland will be sold in the next 3 game weeks. It's just when. And I think the best time to do it is probably now, even though he'll probably haul against Brighton. That's the kind of conundrum people face. Worth taking a hit for Solanke and selling Haaland? Depends who you're buying in the midfield and also the other kind of options. I wouldn't sell Haaland to Solanke for a -4 hit. If you've already gone, if you use your free transfer already and you're then thinking of taking a -4 hit, just keep Haaland in this case. I'll try to do one a deal. I did one earlier of Haaland versus Haaland, basically. The first half of the season, and then, of course, the last 5 game weeks, and then a Haaland-Salah dilemma or comparison. So just to go through this very quickly, I'm going to lock in my final transfers fairly soon. I did buy 8 Nuri for Jacob Greaves. Very simple stuff. Didn't need much thought. But the next one will be very interesting. So let's get this show on the road. So as you can see, both of them with 4 goals and 1 assist so far this season. Cunha has over double the number of shots, but the same number on target. Shots in the box is identical. Same with the XG. And of course, all the creativity numbers like key passes, big chance created, and XA are all in Cunha's favour. Only 2 big chances though for the Brazilian, and Strand Larsen has had 6. So I think it's very close actually. But if the money is no issue for you, I do think Cunha's worth the extra million because of bonus points. He is a bonus points machine and a talismanic figure for Wolves. So I think they're both excellent choices and they're both really good purchases for Gameweek 11. Another strike I'd recommend though is Danny Welbeck in Gameweek 12. And I'd be looking at him actually if I somehow end up keeping Haaland. But let's go back to my team and transfers. I'm kind of sick of having Erling Haaland in my team right now. I really am. Hi Dylan, Haaland or Salah captain? Salah. Personally, I already have Salah and Palmer in addition to Haaland. Yeah, it's possible. Just have to be a bit careful about the rest of your squad. And one possibility for me last week was to sell Solanke, which would have been a disaster, by the way, since he got that massive return against Aston Villa. I could have downgraded Solanke to a budget striker, like Strand Larsen, whilst keeping Erling Haaland and buying Salah. But I'm definitely not going to do that this week. I don't think that's the right call. So I think if I end up persisting with this, selling Haaland, my question now is Cunha or Strand Larsen. I think Cunha is the better option. But as I mentioned earlier, if we now go back quickly to fpl.team, so if I buy Cunha, let's for some reason I got Cunha there and not in the other one. That's a bit strange. Okay, so this one, Strand Larsen. Okay, we'll keep Cunha in this scenario as well. Okay, so by buying Cunha and Salah alongside 8 Nuri, which I've already done, going into Gameweek 12, I could then buy Saka for Foden, so in either scenario, but I'd have 0.4 million left in the bank. Not that much wiggle room to improve my defensive line. So if we then go to this option where I buy Strand Larsen instead of Cunha, the same other transfers of Salah and 8 Nuri, going into Gameweek 12, I could buy Mazraoui and Kanate for a -4 hit if needed, if I feel 8 Nuri and Mikolenko are benchable. And then I can buy Saka in Gameweek 13 for Foden. But I just think buying Strand Larsen gives me a bit more money in the bank to make some upgrades in my defensive line especially, which needs a lot of improvement in the next couple of weeks, even with the purchase of 8 Nuri, who might be suspended by the time we get to Gameweek 12 or 13. One more yellow, and that will certainly be the case. But yeah, Cunha for me is definitely on radar, and the most likely striker I'm going to buy if I end up selling Erling Haaland, which is my big dilemma this week. Lewis or Konsa to play? Lewis. When to get Isak? I think the best time is definitively Gameweek 12. Captain Son or Haaland? Son. De Bruyne will get minutes. Will he start the game? I'm not entirely sure. I think he'll come off the bench. But he would certainly make a massive impact to Erling Haaland. Hey Dylan, bench 1, Lewis, Justin, Rodgers and McNeil. I would bench Justin. Hi Dylan, what do you think about Cunha? Yeah, he's right up there for me, in the top 10. I do prefer Son or a Spurs attacker like Solanke. Salah and Haaland go without saying. But after those options, I think Cunha is arguably one of the very best. Jay says, hey Dylan, which 2 would you bench from this group? Aina, Gabriel, Semenyo, Wood, Rodgers and Mikolenko. I would bench Mikolenko and Rodgers. I'd start the rest. Now I think that works fairly well, actually. Foden out. He will be sold eventually. Rumours say that Lewis starts. Thank you, Ayub. Let me know where you got it from. I'm going to have a look myself on Twitter. Wouldn't surprise me if he did get some leaks anyway. Let's see if FPL Newsletter said something, but I'm not entirely sure about that. No, they haven't. So if you've got a link, put it in the live chat and we'll have a look. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel as we're looking to push towards 30,000 subscribers, and we will reach this goal by this time next month. So in one of the next 2 deadline streams for UCL Fantasy, we'll be hitting 30,000. Palmer or Saka to Son? I'd rather sell Saka in this case, but Arsenal's fixtures turn for the better in Game Week 12. Try to ensure you have a pathway back to Saka, or, I'd definitely consider buying him back fairly soon. Would you captain Son or Haaland? Yeah, just covered that, mate. I'd go for Son. I really don't know if I want to play safe and go Lewis to Nuri or go differential with Dallo. Well, you are a United fan, aren't you? So maybe you want to back your own boys, but they're both good choices. There's not much separating them. I only bought Nuri because he's got better long-term fixtures, but there's a suspension risk to think about and a bit of uncertainty with United assets. I think Dallo will continue to start under Ruben Amorim, but it's not a guarantee. Should I sell Foden or Palmer for Bruno? I think Foden outscores Palmer this week, but long-term, there is no contest. Palmer is by far the better option. So with a long-term lens, I'd rather sell Foden, but I would probably suggest it's not the best time to do it this week. The same goes for Haaland. Yeah, Solanke's a 1-week punt. Looks excellent, Adil. No problems with that. Mbeumo's a great shout for the captaincy, yeah. He's in my top 5, actually. Why is KDB not expected to start when he had minutes on Tuesday? Well, because he's just coming back from an injury. And look, I've checked a lot of predicted lineups from newspapers and Man City fans, and not many of them had De Bruyne in there. But look, I'm not saying he's not going to start. I'm just saying, in my personal opinion, he'll come off the bench and make an impact. Start Collins or Gabriel? Gabriel. If already had Cunha, would you get Welbeck and bench, or buy Strand Larsen and bench Semenyo? I'd buy Welbeck. Good question, though. That's a really good dilemma, and they're both viable options, but I think Welbeck is the better option longer term. Start Gabriel or Robinson? Robinson, Adil. Yeah. I like Robinson quite a lot this week, actually. I probably would do it. Profit. Now, Calvert-Lewin has a good record against West Ham. The yellow cards don't necessarily get wiped, they get extended, so it goes from 5 to 10 in Game Week 19. So it's going to be an issue for quite a while now, until the end of the year, basically. Should I buy Garnacho with a -4? There's a slight doubt about him starting. I personally think he will, but it's not a guarantee. And also, who are you selling? That's my question about it. Yeah, that's a good point, Easy 99, but that's my point. If you are selling Haaland, commit to it and don't just buy Erling Haaland back straight away. That's why rolling in my case could be the best course of action, but I'm kind of sick and tired of going without Salah and him punishing me time after time again when I've talked about buying him for so long now. Son for me is the best captaincy option. Salah is a close second though. Should I transfer Bruno in if I have to bench Semenyo? If it's for a -4 hit, I just start Semenyo. But if it's for free, I don't mind it. I really don't. Start Flecken or Fabianski. Probably Fabianski. Sell Palmer for Bruno or roll. Keep Palmer, definitely. No worries, 2,000 man. Bench one of Gabriel, Lewis, Robinson. I'd bench Lewis right now. Buy Robinson or Mazraoui. I'd rather buy Mazraoui, but they're both good choices. Robinson's more nailed on and will get more assists. Remove Maddison this week. I'd keep him for this week and then sell in 12 or 13. Keep Foden and sell Trent. Foden is really a keep for Game Week 11, but if he doesn't improve his form, I think he's really a sell in Game Week 12 or 13. So ultimately, I'd rather have Trent in your setup. Haaland way. Ake not fully fit, Diaz and Stones are out. I'm thinking that sort of guarantees Lewis starts. Yeah, you might be right about that. And Walker and Lewis can coexist in the same 11. We've seen that happen before. But like I mentioned, a lot of predicted lineups I saw didn't have Rico Lewis in the lineup. KDB had 6 minutes. Yeah, exactly. I think it will take a bit of a while for him to... I think in Game Week 12 onwards, you'll get some starts again. Sell Lewis Greaves for a Man United defender this week. Good entry point, and I'll have bench cover, but that would mean going without Palmer and Saka in Game Week 12 or selling Salah. Should I make the move? I'd sell Greaves to United defender. Yeah, I think it's good to have that defensive depth. You don't consider Sepp? You can try and save a transfer. Not sure what you mean by Sepp. I'm probably being stupid there. Start Havertz or Palmer? Palmer. Fabianski or Sells? I'd probably go for Sells here. Start Havertz or Palmer yet? Lewis starts. Let me know where you got it from, but it seems like a few people are getting that news. Final question, Dylan. Who would you start between Rodgers, Dibbling, Totti, Gomez? Probably Totti, Gomez, but Rodgers is still decent. It's just I'm kind of backing Villa to score 1 max, and Rodgers probably won't be involved for me. Probably Totti, Gomez. Start 2, Welbeck, Vardy, or Rodgers. I would go for Welbeck and Vardy. Mikalenko or Lewis start. I'm currently going for Mikalenko, but if the news is true and Lewis is starting, I might just take a punt on him. Evanilson or DCL? Probably Evanilson at this point. Don't bench Palmer, FUT24. I'd bench Rodgers. Do I sell DCL? I have Haaland and Cunha. Yeah, I'd sell him. And I'd go to Welbeck in Game Week 12. So if you've got 5 good midfielders this week, you can maybe hold DCL one more time, but I'd sell him to Welbeck fairly soon. Start 1, DCL, Aina or Rodgers? Probably Aina. I fell asleep last night. Now I'm priced out of Havertz to Isak. Would you go Havertz to Højlund? As a free Game Week punt, it looks pretty decent. But I'm not that fond of Højlund until Ruben Amorim comes in, which will be Game Week 12, because he doesn't get that many shots. In fact, I think he's got 3 shots on target this season in the Premier League. That might have changed now in the last week or two, but very, very poor stats. He doesn't get that many shots off. Sale says, I feel like Son will go big this week. Should I do Haaland to Cunha, Rodgers to Son, Greaves to Neri, or Rodgers to Ahmad? I'd rather go for the Son route, or route, should I say, Sahil, but I think Son will eventually be a sell for you. So it's completely, it's in your hands in terms of, do you want to go really short term or do you want to look a bit longer term? I think Son's a great play for this week, but not so much in the preceding weeks. When to use the wild card, it's team dependent, but I think Game Week 12 is a great time to do it. I've used 1 transfer, Akraf, so I've bought 8 Nuri already for Greaves. That leaves me with 2 free transfers, and I could buy Salah and Cunha this week. And to be honest, I think I'm going to do it. But yeah, I just feel it's like a 50-50 call, and I haven't really gotten on the better end of them so far this season. Vardy to Cunha and keep João Pedro benched, who I've had all season, hoping for him to be back. Yeah, looks good to me, mate. But as I mentioned throughout the stream, Welbeck over João Pedro is my preference. But since you've got João Pedro already, that could be a decent differential. Captain, Son, Bruno and Mbumo? Son for me. Who would you captain? Son, Solanke or Mbumo? Son. Start Gabriel Lewis? Gabriel. Will Jackson score this week? Hopefully not. I'll probably say no, but who even knows at this point. Arsenal are there for the taking. DCL out for Solanke or Welbeck? Welbeck is the better transfer long term. Now, if you could buy Solanke this week and then sell to Welbeck or do something along those lines, that could be the best play. But if it's just like a set and forget, Welbeck is the better option. He also offers better value. Best punts for this week? Strand Larsen, Heung-min Son, Johnson. I think Spurs attackers would definitely be on the radar. So Lewis, Fass or Greaves for 8 Nuri? I'd sell Greaves. He'll be back fairly soon. But Ipswich Town won't keep many clean sheets, and the only defender I'd recommend from them is Leif Davis. Benching Gabriel for that haul? I hope you're right. But yeah, I'm starting him, to be honest. I think Son's the best captain, Michael, as mentioned throughout most of the stream. Captain Haaland or Cunha? I would go for Haaland there. I'm not sure if Diaz starts. He did score the hat-trick the other day, but the way I see it, in the next 2 game weeks in FPL, I think Diaz will be benched in one of them, and I'm not a big fan of that. Bruno, Cunha or Son captain? Heung-min Son. So yeah, the time has come. Let's lock in our teams, and I've kept on thinking about it. I think I'm just going to buy Salah and just jinx the guy. Sorry for those that own him, but I'm sick and tired of this stuff. So, yep, that is my current thinking. It does mean using all 3 of my transfers, and I'm not a big fan of that. Having 3 in Game Week 12 could be very useful. And for some reason I wasn't on this screen that I wanted to. But yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead with this. Captain Bruno, let's go. I wish you the best there. Yeah, I think Haaland is a sell from the perspective that you can go for Salah and spread the funds around quite easily. Haaland himself can do very well against Brighton and Tottenham, and I've always said this, but I do think Salah is a better captaincy option for the next 4 to 6 game weeks, and You can also build a structure with Saka, Palmer, and Salah, with a very balanced 50-man squad in the process. So I'm going to go for this, and we'll see how it all ends up. It's probably going to be a disaster, by the way, but I'm kind of counting on it. Bye-bye, Haaland. For those that maybe have him and captaining him, enjoy the points, because he's certainly going to get them now. We've literally got 1 minute left until the deadline, and I'm making very late moves, as usual. So I'm buying Cunha and Salah for Rodgers and Haaland. I'm quite settled on that. And now it's time to put Salah in the lineup, otherwise I'll be crying. So Semenyo on the bench. I'm going to captain Salah. Let's jinx the guy. I'm sick and tired of his bloody returns. Lewis Mikalenko is still a decision to make. I know some of you have mentioned that Lewis is reportedly going to start. But yeah, I'm just going to probably stick with what I have. Likewise, Martin, good luck to you as well. To be honest, Sahil, I think Son's the best captaincy option anyway, so we'll wait and see how it goes. Someone in FPL stream likely jinxed Haaland. Hopefully the Haaland curse be lifted. It's probably me, just saying it right now. To be fair, though, I did triple captain him in Game Week 2 and he got 17 points, so, you know. It goes your way sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. Start Sanchez or Sells in goal. Sells. I don't think Chelsea keep a clean sheet against Arsenal, despite their recent struggles. Yeah, I think Son is the best captaincy option this week. Hillcheck says bench 1. I'd bench Rodgers there. Starting Lewis or Watkins is a big decision for me. I'd go for Watkins. Your team looks strong. He has a great structure to it. All the best. Thank you, Mohit. Even without Salah and with Haaland, it looked fairly decent on paper. But yeah, I kind of want to jinx Liverpool and Salah at the moment, it seems. So we'll wait and see. It will ebb and flow. Yeah, my bench is actually not too shabby either. Then again, I've had bench points all season. Game Week 2, Anthony Gordon against Bournemouth, 10 points. Chris Wood on 1 or 2 occasions, getting points, 7, 8, I think to be exact. And then, of course, last week, Semenyo with a double-digit haul. In Boomer or Haaland captain, probably Haaland. Stress seeing you with Salah on bench 30 seconds before the deadline. Yeah, and imagine I didn't save it. I'd be crying. Yeah, I mean, we'll wait and see. Locked in and good luck, Dylan. Likewise. But Salah is expected for points. I have checked recently, so he blanked a couple of months ago at Villa Park in that 3-3 draw, and I think there was one Anfield meeting where he didn't score or assist, but in every other game against Villa, he has scored or assisted on a very consistent basis. So, yeah, I think he's going to do well. Haaland will score. I'm telling you now, Haaland is going to score. I'm just hoping he doesn't go ballistic, because then I'll be thinking, why didn't I keep him and captain him? And, you know, the cycle continues, basically. But I've made my bed. Time's up. Thanks, guys. And you, Dylan. Likewise, Mayo. Hopefully, it all goes well. We are locked. Good luck, everyone. Bench Lewis and Raya. Interesting stuff. I've benched Lewis myself. I'm hoping Brighton score. It's too late, but who would you start? Gvardiol, Aina, Gabriel? From those, I would probably bench Aina. I will make a wildcard team in a few days' time. I don't think it makes much sense now to do it because we've still got this weekend's action to go. Injuries could happen. So I'm going to record a few videos from Monday to Wednesday, basically. Spread them out because I'll be on holiday. And yeah, the wildcard video will be out within the next week or so. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Maybe in the reaction stream, when we talk about Game Week 12, I'll mention a brief wildcard draft. But yeah, there's still... I don't think it makes much sense now to talk about it. It will be very similar to my Game Week 11 wildcard team, which I uploaded 2 days ago. Benching Aina for Hall. Good luck to you, Dylan, and everyone. Likewise, LFC. Let me know, by the way, how the stream was, because if you were there for the first one, it was a shit show. No drop frames here, apparently, so I'm not sure what the issue was. MC Myth says, hey, Dylan, bench 1, Welbeck, McNeil, Rodgers. Well, the deadline has passed, but I would have benched Rodgers in this case. Now, bear in mind, with Welbeck, I've been very bullish on him in this stream, but not for Game Week 11. He has never scored against Man City in his Premier League career, only 1 goal across all competitions, but it's a good time to play them. Bench Gabriel for Robinson. Have a feeling Gabriel will now score a header. He did that 2 years ago at Stamford Bridge, but I don't know. I'm not that confident on Arsenal. That's one of my weaknesses in my team. I think my defensive line this week is fairly poor, and I could still buy, you know, Saka for Foden in Game Week 12, or focus on my defense and sell one of Vandenberg or Mikalenko, maybe even Rico Lewis, and really strengthen this position. That's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. FPL Challenge I'll leave up. I might go back to that fairly soon. We'll forget about predicted points and price changes. Who even cares about all that stuff? So yeah, indeed, we are locked right now. Haaland 7-pointer max, you heard it here first. I'd take that. I'd take him getting 7 points. But if Salah ends up blanking, I'm going to end up kicking myself anyway. That's a bench boost written all over it, says Ahmed. Maybe. Hopefully not. Decided to roll, have 4 free transfers after the international break. Captain Haaland and started Rodgers. Team looks kind of weak this game week. Hope I get through it somehow. Yeah, but football's full of surprises, right? And Haaland could still do the business. A brace and you're in business. And I wouldn't put it past him. Who should I replace Haaland with this week? Well, it would be Cunha or Strand Larsen. The longer term, especially from Game Week 12 onwards, Danny Welbeck's my favourite. Just managed to finish work in time. Ended up doing Lewis St. Nuri. Could have been Dunk, but Lewis seems like problems. Could have done Watkins to Wood for a hit, but didn't think it was worth it. Yeah, there's so many different avenues, and the longer you leave it, the more you can overthink, which is what I've done in the end. But I wish you the best. I do like that Nuri transfer, though. I captained Son. I didn't want to jinx Bruno. Well, to be fair, though, you captained Gyökeres in UCL Fantasy, and he got a hat-trick against Man City, so I don't know. Maybe you would have given Bruno some good luck. Bench Gabriel for Robinson. Yeah, covered that. Haaland will get a hat-trick now that you sold him. Don't care. I'm holding on to free transfers for Game Week 12. As past the international break, injuries have a history of ruining my plans. That's fair. I just cast my mind back to Game Week 4 when I had free transfers. I started making moves and it ended up ruining my team and my ranks. So sometimes transfers can be a curse, actually. I'm going to be more careful with my moves with just the one available. And I've got a strong squad, so I think I could deal with 1 or 2 injuries. But if it's more than that, I could be in some trouble. I don't if Haaland scores as long as Cunha doesn't blank. Yeah. Ultimately, though, don't be too surprised if things go against you. Good luck today when you next live. Well, my ideal time to do reaction streams is Saturday night, but the Liverpool-Aston Villa game is at 8 PM, so that will end around 10 in the UK. I think the most likely reaction stream will be tomorrow. Then it's going to be a few weeks break in terms of live streams, and I'll spread the transfer tips, also the wildcard, and my transfer plans videos throughout the week. And then when I'm back from my holiday, in like less than 2 weeks basically, I'll then upload final versions of those videos and maybe something different like a predicted lineups if people want to see it. And of course, all the UCL Fantasy and FPL live streams and videos will return as well. Hey Dylan, bench 1, Welbeck, McNeil, Rodgers. I would have benched Rodgers as mentioned earlier. I'm definitely not watching City. Definitely not without Haaland. He's going to score. I'm saying it now. I'm going to repeat it. He is going to score. Any Villa player? Well, I just sold Rodgers for Salah. And of course, by doing that, I sold Erling Haaland. Rodgers is my favourite. Watkins would be second. Then you're looking at Luka Dean maybe in third. I'm not too keen on their defenders, though. I think Son's the best captaincy option this week. Raya can get points from saves. Yeah, or a clean sheet if Arsenal actually turn up. But I think Chelsea are a decent team this season. The gap between Arsenal and Chelsea has definitely closed. Last season and the year before, it was astronomical. Now it's a bit more balanced. Thanks, Dylan. Have a great weekend. Likewise, Adil. Finally, my wildcard 12 party arrived. Enjoy it. I wish I had a wildcard. We'll wait and see. I predict a low-scoring week all round. I hope not. I personally think, and I'll probably jinx it, but I think you'll be like, not high-scoring, but I think you'll be better than recent weeks. There we go. Have Salah, Palmer, and Haaland in my team. Never mid to jinx Haaland this game week. I captain Haaland. Well, fair enough. I mean, it is possible to have all 3 of them, but you might have a less balanced 50-man squad, but it all depends. I do think it's possible to still have a solid squad. What are the chances of Villa either drawing or upsetting Liverpool? Very low. Very, very low, actually. They're a good team, Aston Villa. I don't think they'll get 4th this season. And I think Liverpool beat them by 2 or 3. Let's actually do predictions, speaking of which, before we wrap things up. So Brentford versus Bournemouth. That is a very difficult game to predict, actually. I'm going to go for 2-1 Brentford. Crystal Palace Fulham. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Fulham. West Ham Everton. I'm actually tempted to go for an Everton win or something like this, but I'm going to go for 1-1. West Ham are missing several key players. Wolves Southampton, 2-1 Wolves. Brighton Man City, 3-1 Man City. 3-1? 2-1 Man City. I'm going to go for 2-1. Because I'm also thinking about 3-1 for Liverpool, actually. Okay, I'm going to go for 3-1 Man City and Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. Man United Leicester. Yeah, difficult one. Probably another 3-1. Forest versus Newcastle. 2-1 Forest. Spurs Ipswich Town. 5-1 Spurs. Chelsea Arsenal. I'm kind of torn between a draw or a narrow victory. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Arsenal. As for Forest Newcastle, by the way, I'm changing that to 1-1. I love giving Nottingham Forest a 1-1 draw. So there you go. Those are my predictions for the week. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat as well. Smash the like button if you haven't already. And let's get this stream to as close to 200 likes as possible. Of course, I do recognize we had 2 streams today. So thank you for the support across both of them. Captain Son over Haaland, Solanke and Palmer, says TXMN216. Yeah, good luck, mate. I think Son's the best captaincy option. You'll probably be cooking. Justed Lewis to Dallo and Captain Son. I like that. The Captain Goycresh done me so well. Yeah, I sold Goycresh. I actually had a poor week in UCL Fantasy this time round, but generally speaking, I agree with you. UCL Fantasy tends to be better than FPL in terms of performances. Just because long-term, I think the structure I want to go for and my future transfers, the best way to achieve them is by selling Haaland. So I'm just kind of... The way I see it is I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't in terms of buying Salah or keeping Haaland. So I ended up just making a decision and offloading him. I know Haaland's going to do well. This was my team before. The late transfers, I ended up buying Cunha and Salah in the end. Captain Son over Haaland, Solanke and Palmer. Looks good. Hopefully Gavardio saves my team today. I don't think City keep a clean sheet, but I think they'll win. Uncharted level rage if Haaland double-digit hauls and Salah blanks. Well, if Liverpool drop points, that will be quite decent for me, because obviously title races and that, although Arsenal are almost out of it. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I'll just log off. I'll log off and enjoy my holiday from now. Arsenal will be alright. Reds were skewing the XGC anyway. But Liverpool have been the best team so far this season. I do think that they have had the best fixture run between them, City and Arsenal, but I also think Arsenal and City have dipped in terms of performances. I can see Son not even having a shot. Honestly, he just has those games. He might still get some assists though. I just don't see Son blanking. I really don't. I too sold Goycresh and didn't have Rafinha, but couldn't help, and I'm up to 46k. Nice. I bought Rafinha luckily, but I didn't captain him. I'll talk more about that in UCL Fantasy. Not really that well, Akraf. I got a red arrow, that's all I know. In terms of ranks and stuff, you'll see in my UCL Fantasy videos in a couple of weeks' time. Dylan, what do you think about Jackson or Havertz for Gameweek 12 long term? Still a slight preference for Jackson, but if you've got Semenyo and Nuri in your team, I'd be very careful because one more yellow before Gameweek 19 and Jackson will get one. He'll be suspended for one Premier League match. Callum Jr. says have Trent, Salah, Watkins and Rodgers starting. Definitely looking for goals in that game. A 4-2 would be nice. Yeah, in your case, that's definitely what you're looking for, especially if Trent could also get in on the action. I could have gone 4 free transfers going international break, but I got fed up of Haaland. Yeah, this could go one of two ways, right? Haaland goes ballistic, you end up regretting using the transfers. Just don't go back to Haaland straight away. That's probably my advice. Wolves penalty taker. That is a good question. I do think it's Cunha, actually, but I'm probably wrong about that. Brighton to outplay Man City and Martinez to turn up. Mate, I hope so. Even if Salah blanks, as long as Haaland blanks as well, I'm very happy with that, mate. I'll take it. Just another check on the set pieces. Yeah, I think penalties... I mean, Hwang, when he's fit and actually starting, he's up there, but I think Cunha is the main penalty taker. Correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat. So, we're going to be wrapping up fairly soon, but a lot of you are still tuning in, which I appreciate. Let's try to get this stream to as many likes as possible. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships, for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks, the Discord server as well, FPL League, Drafthound, as well as Spotify. And by the way, if you sign up as a member this week or a patron, you're going to get early access by a considerable amount because I'm going to space out the videos. as I'm on holiday. So you're going to get it before any subscriber or viewer days in advance. So it's a great time to sign up. Which player do you think will score the most points this week? I think a Spurs attacker, so Heung-min Son would be probably my guess. Should I take hits before activating my wildcard for the sake of affecting price changes? Yeah, I mean, if you're set on wildcarding, then I'd probably do it then. I don't know for Gvardiol clean sheet when hoping for a haul from him. I expect him to score. Yeah, I don't think he's going to score here against Brighton, but that could age horribly wrong. I really like Jackson as a differential despite the yellows, very tempting. Completely agree. Good underlying stats, starting every single Premier League game. Nkuku doesn't seem to be a risk for his minutes right now. That could change during the winter period though, especially over Christmas, but for now it looks really promising. Zazie, I'm going to try to avoid this question because whenever I'm asked this and I answer it, it just goes horribly wrong. I just hope I get a green arrow. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be difficult to predict what sort of week it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be low scoring, but I think a lot of times we get a low scoring week. It is unexpected. Foden to Palmer for next week? Yeah, no doubts about it. Even though Tottenham's a good fixture for City, I'd probably do it. How does a striker like Jackson even have 4 yellows to begin with? He gets into a lot of arguments. This happened last season as well. I think that's why he gets so many. Soldier Boy says, I did Eze to Semenyo and Vardy to Wood. Started Rodgers over Smith Rowe. Hope it goes well. Yeah, I think Palace Fulham will be low scoring, but I just don't see Liverpool conceding many goals. I think Villa get 1 max. My prediction is 2-0. I forgot about Rodgers. I've started him over Gabriel and Aina. Oh well, they're not keeping a clean sheet anyway. Hopefully they do, especially in the case of Arsenal. Wouldn't Sarabia be Wolves' penalty taker? When he's on the pitch, maybe you're right, but I think Cunha, generally speaking, would be first. I hope Son scores. I hope he doesn't, but I think he's going to get a lot of goals, a lot of attacking returns anyway. Bold prediction, Martinez masterclass and Rodgers goal. Well, I hope that's not the case because that's literally everything I don't want. Salah blanking would be bad for my FPL team, and then Haaland doing well. Of course, I just sold him. Same with Rodgers. So, yeah, of course, Sarabia's not starting, but when he's on the pitch, coming off the bench, that could be a potential penalty taker, of course. Still have my wild card, not sure when to play it. It's team dependent, isn't it? But Game Week 12 is a good time to use it for a lot of people. I've said that for a few weeks now. I have Salah, Haaland, Palmer. Yeah, decent position to be in. You might be tempted to hold off on the wild card for some time. 3 goals from 5 games is pretty good for a left back. Yeah, you're referring to Gvardiol, right? Yeah. He's been in great form recently. I just don't think he's going to score again this week. My predictions I covered earlier. So just to go for it one more time. 2-1 Brentford against Bournemouth. Crystal Palace 0, Fulham 1. West Ham 1, Everton 1. Wolves 2, Southampton 1. Brighton 1, Manchester City 3. Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. Man United 3, Leicester 1. Nottingham Forest 1, Newcastle 1. Spurs 5, Ipswich Town 1. Chelsea 0, Arsenal 1. Something along those lines. Let's see. Which team do you think is going to score more points, by the way? This one or this one? So basically, Salah and Cunha or Haaland and Rodgers with Semenyo starting in the other scenario. Let's wait and see, folks. Let's wait and see. I just know regret is going to happen. I know things are going to go horribly wrong. Who cares, though? Yeah, Cunha take a last-minute penalty. I do think it's between him, Hwang, and Sarabia. Probably in that order, although Sarabia is arguably second. I'd say no, Sahil. I hope he doesn't. I'm going to Spain just to visit some family. It's obviously not the best time to go there. It's going to be a bit cold, but definitely better than the UK. I don't have a wife, Zazie. I'm a bit young for that, arguably, although maybe not. Maybe it is time. I wonder what Watkins' ownership will drop to. If his effective ownership can be below 25%, I'll keep for a few more weeks. No, I think it could do, actually, especially this week. I do think a lot of people who keep Watkins will bench him against Liverpool. So, yeah, by Game Week 12, I think his effective ownership will be around 40-50%. But then again, I'm not too well versed in effective ownership. Lineups are out, says Chase. Yeah, we might as well go for them, right? Right. We'll go for them quickly and then wrap things up. I'm going to have lunch and hopefully just disconnect from FPL all week. So, let's see if we can get some lineups on screen. Yeah, we're going to get 3 games, of course. West Ham, Everton, Wolves, Southampton, Brentford, Bournemouth. So let's go through them now and see what we're saying. Yeah, just going to get them on screen. Just going to take a little while since I'm going to get the tweets up. Okay, so that's Brentford. Let's go to Bournemouth as well. Kepa is back, it seems. Let's put Wolves as well here. Okay. Nothing dodgy is happening right now in terms of lineups, as far as I'm aware. Okay, so Wolves, Southampton. We'll go for all of them. All of the lineups are coming out now. West Ham. So yeah, Bowen is in there. I saw a few rumours of Bowen missing out, but I never really believed them. Fabianski starts once again. Bit of a spoiler alert. But yeah, everything is taking shape right now. And as for Everton, let's see if Branthwaite finally starts. And he does. So, a lot to report here. Let's start off with Brentford versus Bournemouth. So Flecken in goal, Vandenberg, Collins, Pinnock, Janelt, Norgard, Jensen, Damsgaard, Lewis Potter, Mbuma, and Wissa. Somebody earlier mentioned buying Damsgaard, so hopefully that punt works very well. No surprises in the Brentford lineup here. Let's now go to Bournemouth, and I'm kind of hoping Semenyo is quiet, unless he somehow comes off my bench. In that case, I'll be cheering him on. So a bit of a dilemma there. So Kepa is back in goal with Kirkes, Cook, Senesi, Ivanilson, Christie, Adams, Smith, Kluivert, Semenyo, and Zabarnyi. So really the only big change there is Kepa in for Travers. As for Wolves, Jose Sarr keeps his spot over Sam Johnston. Semedo, Bueno, Dawson, Totti Gomez, Aït-Nouri, João Gomez, Lemina, Sarabia, Cunha, and Strand Larsen all in the starting 11. Let's have a look at Southampton, although, by the way, apologies, I might have to cut this out. We've got some sus replies there for this Southampton lineup. Ramsdale, Walker-Peters, Harwood-Bellis, Bednarek, Stevens, Manning, Downs, Lallana, Mateus Fernandes, Armstrong, and Archer. I also saw somebody with Archer in their team. That could work fairly well, actually. Not a big fan of him, though. Oh my god, what is happening with Twitter? It's literally just full of bots nowadays. It's crazy. Let's now go to West Ham. So Fabianski, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, Emerson, Palmieri, Guido Rodriguez, Soucek, Paqueta, Somerville, Antonio, and Bowen. And finally, Everton, who have made some changes here. At least one big one at the back. Branthwaite is now finally in the lineup again. So Pickford, Young, Tarkovsky, Branthwaite, Mikalenko, Mangala, Ghana, Lindstrom, Indai, Decore, and Calvert-Lewin keeps his spot. He has a good record against West Ham. My kind of hot take maybe this week is that Calvert-Lewin produces something in Gameweek 11. Let's wait and see if that ends up happening. He has been terrible. So all the lineups have been covered. Some big changes, of course. Keane has dropped down to the bench, and that's why in the end I ended up recommending Lewis over Keane. And we'll wait and see. Maybe in the end Lewis will actually start. I hope he doesn't, but if he does, we'll see how he ends up doing. Let's go back to my FPL team. That was how it was before my late 2 transfers. But in the end, I used all 3 of them. Aït-Nouri in for Jacob Greaves, Salah for Morgan Rogers, and Cunha for Haaland. What could possibly go wrong? Well, the answer is absolutely everything. Adama benched, a bit surprising. If you go to the C lineup, do you know if that Sofa Score predicted lineup? Yeah. For the kickoffs at 5:30 and stuff and 8 p.m, that's all going to be predicted. Only the 3 p.m. kickoffs have been confirmed with the lineups. Nice one, Arthur. I mean, not surprised with your captaincy haul. Hopefully you can keep on going. Hi, Dylan. Which team's the target for Wildcard 12? Arsenal, Chelsea, Aston Villa. I still think Liverpool, although they have some tough fixtures in the short term. But those are 3 teams I'd kind of pile up on. I mean, Bournemouth have good fixtures. I wouldn't double or triple up on them, though. But one asset like Semenyo is enough. Yeah, Barcelona have been in incredible form. There could be a drop-off, though, and I've said this about Liverpool, although I think Barcelona are a better team. But, yeah, their attack is definitely really strong. I do think they can be targeted defensively, though. And I don't think they'll win Champions League and La Liga at the same time. I think they'll win one of those competitions. But Hansi Flick is doing a great job building upon the foundations that Xavi left there. I did 3 transfers despite getting 70 points. Hope I don't get less this week. Well, if it's a low-scoring week, it's going to be difficult, right? But there's not much we can do about it. As long as you get a green arrow, that is the main thing. Is Huang on the bench? Good question. Huang is not on the bench still. Yeah, he's still out. Guedes, though, is, and he's been decent in the Carabao Cup this season for Wolves. So I think he deserves more minutes based on his form in that competition. With Keane bench for Everton, will it bring on the person second on my bench who is the defender? Yeah, if you've only got 3 defenders in your lineup, then it will bring your defender on your bench, not Morgan Rogers. You need a viable formation. McNeil out of the squad. Yeah, that's another big surprise, of course. Lindstrom coming in and a few changes there. So definitely some surprises. Rodrigo and Militao were both forced to exit due to injuries in the first half of Madrid's match against Osasuna. I mean, that's not even the way you say it. Whatever. I'm thinking of Osasuna or something. That season continues to take a turn for the worse. It can still turn around very quickly for them. They're still in a decent position in the league. They're in terrible form. They might change manager, but Ancelotti is still one of the greats. Bellingham scores his first goal against Osasuna, I'll call him. Yeah, the thing is with Bellingham, I just sold him in UCL Fantasy, and it paid off for me. But yeah, Rafinha, or should I say Bellingham will come good. Yeah, I sold Haaland Beardy, so expect him to score a brace or a hat-trick. Have a look at that prediction, very Bolter's gold head. Yeah, I'm not too keen on that, though. I checked the City fan forum and a few other websites, so we'll wait and see. Sarabia starting, that probably means no Cunha penalty. As long as he gets some goals from open play, not really that bothered. It'll probably be a 90+6 better goal. Yeah, if it's not disallowed this time. Of course, he did do the business against Fulham very recently. Yeah, I've Dam's got in my team bold transfer. I wish you the best. I am 25, Dan Kid. 25. Ipswich shock Spurs will be the biggest shock. I hope you're right, mate. I really do. I just don't see that happening. Spurs have a good home record. DCL should even be starting. Beto has scored 2 goals off the bench. It's a disgrace. I'd be fuming. Yeah, but Beto isn't that great either. I just think Sean Dyche has a lot of faith in Calvert-Lewin, and he does a job with his hold-up play. McNeil is out. Gabriel is my first sub. Bullet header against Stamford Bridge. At Stamford Bridge. Who says no? Definitely not me. When do I move on from Son? I mean, he's got a good record against City, right? But you could feasibly sell him to Saka in 12 or Palmer. I think that's definitely the right call. If any team gives Liverpool a tough task and second loss, it'll be Aston Villa. I think it'll be City, if anything, in Game Week 13. I just don't see Villa causing many problems. I wouldn't mind, though. Which teams has the highest clean sheet odds this week? I think Spurs are right up there. We'll refer to Drafthound for this question. There is a link in the description below. So let's go to the fixture analysis section. Sort this out by chance of a clean sheet. So in Game Week 11, City, Liverpool, Fulham, United and Tottenham are in the top 5. Then you've got Arsenal, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Wolves and West Ham. I have to say, quite a decent list overall. I don't think I'd put City top personally, but that's what Drafthound have gone for. They still back City to turn things around. And let's actually see what they think about my team after making my transfers. So if we go to the player rankings here, buy 8 Nuri for Jacob Greaves, also buy Salah. So these are the transfers I made, by the way, during the course of the 2 deadline streams today. Salah in for Rodgers, and then Cunha for Erling Haaland. Let's optimize the team here. And the expected points has gone up considerably to 64.7. They recommend Salah as the captain, which I ended up doing, and Mbeumo as the vice, which is definitely a great shout. He's got the same expected points, though, as Dominic Solanke. Looks good on paper. By the way, the only change would be Gabriel in for Lewis. That's what I've gone for. But they are backing a City clean sheet, and I think Lewis is in their predicted 11. So, yeah, that's pretty much the only change. Drafthound still like the look of this team for Game Week 11. Let's see how it all goes over the weekend. I'm still expecting the worst, especially with the likes of Erling Haaland. McNeil is not in the squad. Mohit, he's not in the squad. No worries, FPL Kevy. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to keep Keane in. Yeah, no, of course, it's fine. It's not a situation you want to be in, but that's what the bench is for. Brighton is the most probable shock. Yeah, I think City will win, but it's more likely that Brighton will get something against City than Aston Villa against Liverpool. Captain Haaland brace on the way. I hope it doesn't go well, but all the best with your team in general. I'm just a bit fearful of Haaland, of course, but I'm still confident in my setup and transfers in the long term. I can still get a green arrow if Haaland does well, but if Salah blanks, it could be sticky. Who's the most overrated player in FPL? I'd have to think about that. I don't think Haaland is overrated per se. He's just a bit overpriced, arguably. He needs to do a lot to really justify his inclusion in your team every single game week. Yeah, but after City, their fixtures are alright. Oh yeah, with Brighton, I mean, they've got really good fixtures. Why does mine say the game is updating and will be available soon? It always happens, mate. And actually, this season, they've been quicker with updating the game. Yeah, LLJ says Haaland's the most overrated FPL player because he's too expensive and not worth 50 million. I can understand that, but he's going to get 2 free goals now. Yeah, I feel the same way, Beardy. Believe this is Palmer's chance to score in a big game. Honestly, won't be surprised if he got a hat-trick like the one against United last season. I mean, you're right. It's a good opportunity for him. His record against Big Six clubs isn't particularly great. In fact, most of his returns come from penalties. But look, I'm probably going to jinx it now. I just don't see him scoring a hat-trick against Arsenal. I mean, if any player does that against the Gunners, they would have done very well because it's still one of the best defences in the league. Yeah, fair enough, Sahil. Yeah, they've got good fixtures, but it's still a bit mixed bag. You know, even Fulham at home isn't the easiest. KDB came from the bench and helped Haaland score. Yeah, but will it be enough? And City might still be fatigued, tired. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. If Foden can score, or at least outscore Haaland, and Salah does the business, FPL-wise, I'll be doing well. How Haaland in UCL is 11 million, but in FPL is 15.4. It's 15.3 now, and soon to be 15.2, but I think it makes sense. In UCL Fantasy, they're a bit more lenient with prices, but you've also got so many options that Haaland is an essential in UCL Fantasy despite the very decent price tag. Concert to 8 Nuri and Salah captain thoughts? I'm on board. I like the look of it. Just bear in mind with 8 Nuri, he's on 4 yellows, 1 more before Game Week 19, and he'll be suspended. Most overrated is DCL for me. Way too many people talk about him every year. Yeah, fair enough. I think earlier this season I recommended him as a buy, and even in a wildcard video, but I soon learned from my mistake. He's got good underlying stats, but you might be correct about it. In fact, historically, he's always underperformed his XG. Enjoy your holiday, Dylan. I'll enjoy Ahmad Ball. Likewise, Arthur. I'm still here for the next couple of days, and that's where I'll record some videos for FPL and then space them out over the week. But keep your eyes peeled for the transfer tips for Game Week 12, also the best wildcard team, and my transfer tips. Good luck, Dylan. Hopefully we get a green arrow. Likewise, Sahil. It should be a good one. If he gets a hat-trick, it'll be a hat-trick of penalties. Well, never say never, mate, but it'll be a bit of a piss take after his penalty miss against Sporting. When do you think I should use my wildcard? I don't know your team, Harry, but I do think Game Week 12 is a nice opportunity for a lot of people based on the fixture swings. If you wildcard in 12 when must press the button, well, as long as you do it before 1:30 AM UK time, when the prices start to happen, you'll be able to catch in on them, basically. There will be some surprises with price falls and rises, but you should be fine. If Haaland blanks, do you think there will be a mass sell? Yes, and the way I see it, Haaland's going to get a brace against either Brighton or Tottenham, and it's just never ideal to sell him. I don't play So Ren now, Goldhead, but I did before, and I did promote it on my channel. LJ says, this is true though, Haaland needs a team to create for him, hence why he gets marked loads, because players know how to mark him. He's so easy to mark now for top teams, he can't create anything for himself much. I mean, he's a striker that relies on service. Most strikers are like that. He's still got 11 goals this season, by the way. More goals than games played. That could change, and hopefully it does by the Brighton game, but I wouldn't count on it. He's difficult to defend against still, and by marking him, you leave the wingers unoccupied potentially, so I don't think it's that simple. If Haaland scores a brace, his price will rise back, maybe not to 15.5, but maybe he won't go down in price tonight to 15.2, and instead, he'll get close to 15.4. One brace or hat-trick changes everything. We know this. What match should I hop on for the first match? I think my favourite on paper is probably Brentford-Bournemouth. But I think FPL-wise, I'd be more inclined to watch Wolves. That is the most important one for me, since I bought 2 of their assets this week. Yeah, Maddison could start. No idea what the mystery chip is. We've speculated a lot on this channel about it, but yeah, we'll wait and see. Callum Jr. says, surely players don't do anything stupid knowing they're 1 yellow from suspension. I do think Jackson is the type to still get suspended, though. I mean, it's too many games until Gameweek 19 to avoid that yellow card, and he gets a lot of them through dissent, through arguing with the ref. Good luck as well, Frankie. I wish I kept Goykresh. Yeah, I also took him out quite late on, but it made sense to sell him. It's just a massive swing against you. We have to remember Haaland had lots of shots. Yeah, of course. I know goals are coming. I think he's going to get a brace against Tottenham or Brighton. So, hi Dylan, really hate these international breaks. Hope the next one is the last for the year. It is the last one. It's always like that. So, basically until March, we have no international breaks from December to February. So, you'll be happy there. Got Wisser as well. Hope he delivers. Yeah, I do like Wisser for the next 3, but from Gameweek 14 onwards, it does get quite tough for Brentford. Price changes depend on transfer activity, and of course, a lot of transfers depend on performances and FPL points. But yeah, sometimes there is manipulation from FPL headquarters. McNeil is left out of the squad, Luis. We covered that earlier. He is not in the team. Bruno, captain of Salah. I wish you the best of luck there. I do think Son and Salah are the best on paper, but football isn't a game played behind a calculator or, you know, basically off the pitch. It's all about what happens on that grass. What if I don't use my wildcard now? No, you can't do that. So if you don't use your wildcard until Gameweek 20 when it resets, you will basically then just have your second wildcard and that's it. You would have basically eaten up your first one. Ayamfi puts his wildcard draft. I like the look of it. I'm just a bit unsure about the triple up in Forest. They are bottom of the FDR until Gameweek 18. I recognise they're doing really well this season, but they've also had arguably the best fixtures until now. I would trim that down to 1 or 2. But really good squad overall. Great picks. I'm just a bit concerned about double Forest defence when they've got Arsenal and City away in the next 4. Yeah, but there's always international breaks. I think the reason why it seems like a lot this season is because we just had the Euros and the Copa America in July. So after that, having an international break after 3 game weeks seems way too soon. I agree, international breaks are a waste of time. I'll be honest, from a personal perspective, I like international breaks because I support Argentina. They've won 4 trophies in a row, and it's always a pleasure watching players like Messi on the pitch. And also, it's a break from Arsenal. Honestly, I'd much rather watch Argentina than Arsenal, but everyone's different. I think if I support a European team or nation, I'd probably feel the same way. I think Nations League is irrelevant and pointless, and these Euro qualifiers and World Cup qualifiers are generally easy for a lot of European teams. Haaland can have 2 if we win 3-2. How about 0 and Brighton win 3-0? I'd take that. I support Arsenal, unfortunately. Sneak peek on FPL Challenge. I covered it earlier. Just one more time before we wrap up. This is my squad. Onana, Aït-Nouri, Salah, Son, and Erling Haaland. I might go for more Spurs players, try to jinx them. Maybe Liverpool or City. Ultimately, they're the 3 teams I'd like to drop points this week, but it won't happen. No worries, Mr. Parky. I appreciate you tuning in. I'd start Welbeck, but he has never scored against them in the Premier League before. I've only watched bits and bobs, mainly highlights. I don't really watch into Miami games. How many points do you see me getting? 60 plus. We'll say something like that. They're World Cup qualifiers for South America and Asia. I know that. I'm just mentioning the fact that the World Cup qualifiers and Euro qualifiers are quite boring most of the time in Europe because there's weak opposition. Nations League is just glorified friendlies. I agree. Watching England is damn boring out of tournaments. Yeah. England tend to do so well in qualifiers, you know, and then when it comes to the international tournaments, they kind of get knocked out by the first good team they face. But they would be one of my favourites for the next World Cup. Glad I went from Bruno last week. Haven't had him since, and having him feels great. Yeah, it's funny, right? FPL can be a really funny game. Borro defense would be good. So many shots. I was thinking about Borro, to be fair. There are some Spurs fans who think he might get benched. He played the full 90 against Galatasaray, which is a bit awkward, a bit odd. But yeah, he's another one. I'm looking at maybe jinxing him at least or getting some points. Thank you to everyone for tuning in for the last 2 hours or so. Of course, amongst both streams I did, basically we did 3 hours worth of streams. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this stream to as many likes as possible. And let's keep on pushing towards 35 subscribers and beyond. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. If you sign up this week, You're going to get access days in advance, so it's a great time to sign up as a patron or member. All the links are there in the description. The same goes for my Discord server, FPL League, Drafthound, which is a great resource, and also Spotify. England qualifiers are boring too. Yeah, I agree. But maybe with Tuchel, you'll feel differently. Good luck, Thomas, and good luck to everyone watching. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and User Fantasy content. The reaction stream will likely be tomorrow, but keep your eyes peeled for that content as well. And there's a lot headed your way over the next couple of weeks. Take care, enjoy the football, and I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 11.